Here in the UK, there's a shiny new protest group which has got itself into the news. And it appears that there's a pattern emerging in the 21st century, whereupon all protest groups and organisations are on a mission to out-stupid one another. Like they've got to prove they're even fucking thicker than the last lot to get into the news. Often, the views and principles behind these groups make sense. Take Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist. Now the thing is, the vast majority of people, myself included, aren't card-carrying Nazis. But with mind-blowing hypocrisy, the way that Antifa operates is to go around in large groups, kicking the shit out of people and setting fire to businesses. A lot like neo-Nazis do. Then there's Extinction Rebellion, a group who wants more action taken to halt climate change, and I think most sensible people would agree more needs to be done. But the way they go about it is to create massive traffic jams, which generates pollution just for the fucking sake of it. And they often travel to their protests in wanked out old diesel vans, and diesel engines are what are melting the polar ice caps. Not only that, they also disrupt the lives of thousands of ordinary people just trying to get to work. And it's hard to win someone over to your argument if you're hell-bent on pissing them off. So the protest group who are in the news are called Insulate Britain. And the best way to describe them is, if you imagine Extinction Rebellion had a retarded half-brother who lives in the attic, well, that's them. Their issue, as it were, is that they are demanding that all homes in the UK, starting with social or council houses, should be fully insulated to make them more energy efficient, because this would help slow down climate change. And that sounds very sensible. After all, my house, Disgruntled Towers, the walls and the loft are insulated, it has modern double glazing, energy efficient central heating powered by a smart boiler. And the reason it's got all those things is because Mrs. Disgruntled and I fucking paid for them. And I don't think it's realistic to expect the British government to suddenly upgrade the insulation on every council house in the UK. Because our economy is currently more fucked than a 20 quid prostitute. There's been this thing called the coronavirus, it's been on the news and everything. And that's wiped out the economies of half the fucking world, but somehow Insulate Britain seem to have missed this. So what are they actually doing? Well, the protesters are gluing themselves to the M25, one of the busiest motorways in the world. And with the same hypocrisy as Extinction Rebellion, they're causing massive traffic jams, which in turn create completely unnecessary pollution. Thousands of cars sat with their engines idling. And even cars with stop-start technology, after a while they have to run their engines to recharge the battery. And even electric cars in a traffic jam will need to be recharged. And that energy's got to fucking come from somewhere. So if I was down in London, having to spend more money on petrol because I'd been sat in a traffic jam because a handful of fuck nuggets had stuck themselves to the tarmac, then arriving at work late and having my pay docked, I wouldn't be inclined to listen to their demands. And what's with their insistence on insulating council houses? Now, where I live, there's a mixture of privately owned homes and social housing. And just to be clear, the vast majority of people who live in council homes are good, honest, hard-working men, women, and they, them non-binary things who get up every day and go and do their job, or they've worked all their life and they're now retired. However, there is also a minority who conform to the council estate stereotype. There are some people who live in council houses who are capable of working, but they don't work. They've never worked. Their families have never worked. But they know how to screw every last penny out of the benefits system. They take all they can get, and all they produce are children which they can neither afford nor have the mental capacity to raise. So why is that relevant? Insulate Britain start their protests at around 8 o'clock in the morning. So even if I wanted to attend their protests, I couldn't. Because by 8 AM, I'm already at work. So why the fuck aren't they? I know I'm painting with a somewhat broad brush, but I'm going to assume that anyone who's protesting Monday to Friday is a fucking dole scrounger. They're probably not even bothered about the environment. They just want lower heating bills so they've got more money to spend on drugs. But I believe I've come up with a solution to the people who feel compelled to prick stick themselves to a motorway. We need to enlist the help of a group of British workers who didn't stop throughout the pandemic because they're key workers. That's British farmers. At this time of year, it's common to see farmers out on the roads in their tractors because they're finishing up the harvest. And it's one of the machines they use to do this, which I think would quickly disperse protesters. So next time they stick themselves to a road, why not drive a combine harvester at them? I think with a combine bearing down on them, those people stuck to the road would very quickly become unstuck. And if they weren't, well, that's okay as well, because as the blades hit them, in their own way, they would immediately be cutting their own carbon footprint. As ever, thanks for watching.